Nathan MacKinnon goes wild. Is there anything that this man cannot do? A new episode of Locked On Avalanche coming at you.
You're Locked On Avalanche, your daily podcast on the Colorado Avalanche. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Locked On Avalanche podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I am your host, Chris Maselli. With me, as always, Mr. Shaggy Von Doom, Kyle Sullivan. Thank you for tuning in, making it your first listen of the day. Always appreciated. Make sure you're following us on our social media outlets, LOPN_Avalanche on Twitter, X, Locked On Avalanche on Instagram and Threads. Questions, comments, concerns, and opinions, lockedonavalanche@gmail.com. And follow us on our YouTube channel. Hit subscribe, get notified when a new show goes live. And make sure you're subscribed to our subtext as well. Link to that is in the show notes below. When you do, chat with Kyle and I one-on-one. We get your opinions on everything Avalanche related, which we share on this very podcast. Like we will do a little bit later, we'll get their input on this game with the Wild. And then there was an NHLPA players poll that they do every year. And they ask some interesting questions. And we will throw out to you the results from that because Avalanche were pretty much well represented in that players poll. So we'll get to that a little bit later. I'm going to start with obviously with the Wild game, and it was wild because Nathan MacKinnon, he just continues to do things that very few people in the league, and when I say very few, it's pretty much Connor McDavid is really the only other guy who can play the way he plays and play the style he plays. This was a guy who is just on another level, Kyle, and it's amazing to see at this stage of the season when teams are preparing for him, when they're planning for him. You can't like once he gets that step on you, it's over. And that last goal he scored for his hat trick was just there's a defender right on him, and he's like, I'm already at top speed, and I know you're not. You can't catch up with me. And he just goes and does his business, and it's over.
Yeah, and it's incredible. And I know I've made this comparison a couple times already on the show, but this Kucherov McKinnon race is one of the more perplexing and enthralling things I can remember. It goes back to the McGuire Sosa race. Like, you knew every night they were going to go home run for home run, and it was must watch TV for the entire country. And that's how it is with this Kucherov McKinnon race. Like, you see Kucherov, oh, he had a 3-point night, which usually is the indicator of he's pulled away. There's nothing you can do to catch him. But then Nathan MacKinnon answers with a 4-point. It's back and forth all year long. And I think by now the NHL should know Nathan MacKinnon is good. Kucherov, good. You must get in the way of these players because they will score. And the way MacKinnon was scoring with that incredible speed, the hands, the stick handling, it's you should know this is coming. Why have teams not caught up to this?
You do. It's just that the skill just rises to the top, and you can't. It's like, take your pick of the sport and take your pick of the top players in that sport. You can do everything that you can possibly do to try to stop them, but they are just that good. It's, Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
Everybody knows he's getting the ball over and over and over. You cannot stop it. And, take your pick of NBA players. And hockey's a little bit different, but you still struggle to stop those guys. And and Connor McDavid, obviously, is another one. Like, when he's on the ice, your senses are heightened. And that's true for Nathan MacKinnon. It's true for Kucherov, but there's just nothing that you can do. And especially with MacKinnon, it's just his speed is such a factor. And that, when you have that speed and when you're in control of that speed, that's dangerous because you don't know which way he's going to go. Some guys are like, who's the complete opposite? He's got speed, but he doesn't know what to do with it. Miles Wood. Wood, he'll fly around. I love it because he'll fly around everywhere. He'll throw himself into the boards. But on a breakaway, I got no clue what Miles Wood is going to do. But Nathan MacKinnon is a rocket in control of himself. And you don't know if he's going to pass it, if he's going to shoot it, when he's going to pass it, or when he's going to shoot it. he just flicks those wrists. Like he's just doing that quick stick handling. And within that quick stick handling, he'll fire it on net. Being a goalie, it's got to just have you in pretzels because you have no clue. You cannot get a drop on this guy. And if you save when he's on a breakaway, if you're a goalie and you saved it, you got lucky. You can't sit there and say like, oh, I had him clocked. You didn't. He didn't put the puck where he wanted to, and you lucked out because of it. He's that good.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like with every member of the Avalanche, they all have their thing they contribute. Like it's stick handling, it's their positioning, it's their IQ. Nathan MacKinnon is an amalgamation of all of them.
Yeah.
And like you say, when goalies make a save on Nathan MacKinnon, they're lucky. But it's in that moment. Again, he could hit you from the dots. He can hit you if he decides to hit a burst of speed, another level. Nobody could catch him. It's like Kyrou Dillon Larkin's speed, just out of nowhere. He'll just turn it on effortlessly, blow by you, and then he could either put it in on your blocker side, glove side. He'll go around. He'll do a little like it. There's no end to how Nathan MacKinnon will achieve what he wants. And then it's just effortless. And when he puts it in, you see the reaction. It's like his first goal. Like there's joy, elation. It's still fun. So it's just we cannot take Nathan MacKinnon for granted. And for getting this hat trick against the Wild after the performances that the Avalanche have been having, it's just there's not enough words in the English dictionary to summarize Nathan MacKinnon and what he brings.
I'll look it up. I know on the NHL Edge website where they have like kind of those deep stats, they have speed bursts, and he is far and away leading the league in speed bursts over 22 miles an hour. Number 2, obviously, is McDavid, but he has, I think it's like 200 more speed bursts over Connor McDavid, and McDavid is a speed demon. So I mean that's just a little ridiculous. So it just kind of shows you like where his game is at, and when you see it, like when he can see the play developing, and he'll be in the defensive zone, and he takes off, and when he gets the puck, he's already in the neutral zone at full speed. Forget it. When that happens, forget it. And he did it 3 times for these 3 goals, and it's gorgeous to watch. It's so fun to watch. So
and you can hear PK Subban. He was talking about it in the ESPN broadcast, like the way he gets his speed. Hockey players know it's almost impossible to achieve, and he does it on command.
Yeah.
So it's a hockey players. They enjoy watching Nathan MacKinnon play because of the things he could pull off.
Absolutely. Let's get to the game as a whole, though. I mean, it was a game that the Avalanche needed to get back and get right, so to speak. And they did. Like, it started off good, and then they gave up the 2 goals for Minnesota to pull even. And then the second period is where it's separated because you didn't get anything in the third. So, they just separated themselves from the Wild. And overall, I thought it was just a good, solid game. You had a couple of lapses there in the first, but thoughts just overall on the game and how you felt that it went.
For all the OG Avalanche fans out there, you'll love to hear this one. Colorado Avalanche swept the Minnesota Wild this season. 4-0 in this season series. So
and this game officially eliminated them too.
Yes,
in the playoffs,
officially eliminated them, and was a copy of the score of their last matchup. So it's always great beating Minnesota. It makes you feel good, especially knowing that you closed the door on their playoff aspirations.
Mm-hmm.
It was a good first period, great second period, and then when the third period, nothing happened. That's a good thing for this Colorado Avalanche. Usually the second period, things blow up, and the Avs have to come back in the third period. Good, quiet, controlled periods of hockey.
Yeah.
It's good that the Avalanche are getting those back. That's something else that we have taken for granted. Quiet periods of hockey. Thumbs up, especially when you're in the lead.
They're okay, right? They're okay. Yeah, but don't you you had the feeling it was 5-2, which was obviously the end result. But don't you just feel like it was one of those games where if we got to turn it up again, we will. Like if it was, they got a goal and it was 5-3. All right, let's kick it back into high gear.
Yep.
Same thing with Nathan MacKinnon. Like he I want to say he was taking like shifts off, but if he wanted to get another goal or another assist or two and really kind of stick it to the you just got the vibe that he was in command of this game and the Avs were in command of this game. So you didn't really feel like once they got that lead and it was a comfortable lead, they were not going to relinquish it. You kind of felt pretty good about that.
And the Avs went back to rewarding good play with balanced shifts. Nathan MacKinnon with that 4-point night, 19 minutes of ice time. That's what you want.
It's a day off.
Yep.
That's a day off. Interesting that you mentioned the different lines and shifts and things like that, because there's something I want to bring up. This is all like Nathan MacKinnon's night, right? 4 points, hat trick. But the best line, according to stats, was not his line. We'll get to that in a minute, right after this. All right, let's hear from Factor. We haven't had Factor on in a while, but they're back. So eat stress-free this spring with Factor's delicious, ready-to-eat meals. Every fresh, never frozen meal is chef-crafted, dietitian approved, and ready to eat in just 2 minutes. Choose from a weekly menu of 35 options, including popular options like Calorie Smart, Keto, Protein Plus, or Vegan and Veggie. Also discover more than 60 add-ons every week, like breakfast, on-the-go lunch, snacks, and beverages to help you stay fueled and feel good all day long. So what are you waiting for? Get started and fuel up for your springtime goals. Get chef-prepared meals on the table in 2 minutes with Factor's ready-to-eat meals so you can get back to doing what you love this spring. So head to factormeals.com/LockedOnNHL50 and use code LockedOnNHL50 to get 50% off. If you didn't figure that out by now, your first box plus 20% off your next box. That code is LockedOnNHL50 at factormeals.com/NHL LockedOnNHL50 for 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next box while your subscription is active. So head over to Factor Meals right now. All right, sir. So, when you have a game like this, you're going to be rolling lines, like you said, Nathan MacKinnon, with less than 20 minutes in a game.
In this economy,
that is a vacation for him. But I was over at Money Puck, and the Trennan, Colton, and Duhaime line played 8 minutes and 23 seconds together, 16 shot attempts, 4, and against only 4. And when Nathan MacKinnon's out there doing like what he's doing, I think a lot of this other stuff gets like kind of lost in the mix, and how how deep this Avalanche team can be. And after the trade deadline, we were all really confident in this team that they plugged all the holes, maybe save for the goalie situation, but on the front lines, you felt good about it. And you saw it right off the bat. It's fallen off. I don't say fallen off a lot, but maybe a little bit, where you're not feeling too super confident about the depth lines. But that right there, I think that got lost in the mix a little bit. How well kind of the depth lines played in this game.
Yeah, and I just love how that rolls off the tongue. It sounds like a list of Cowboys. Colton, Duhaime, and Trennan.
I know, right? Yeah.
It's just like they're rolling into town. But no, it's the perfect blend of like those pieces that the Avs went out to get at the trade deadline. Like you get a little bit of everything on that line, and they're efficient. They get it, and like we know what Ross the Boss can bring. Add that physicality to Duhaime and Trennan's. I really am starting to really enjoy his play, and I can't wait to see what he does in the playoffs. And if this line continues on what they're doing, the Roaring 20s, I know it was broken up.
Yeah,
like it is what it is, but you can't argue the success they're having.
No, definitely not. And we mentioned Georgiev briefly, but we're going to be watching. Like, this is every game that the Avalanche play, and only have a handful left in the regular season, but it's almost like an audition for him every game that is played right now. And this was Minnesota's Minnesota. Hey, they made it this far, and there's only a handful of games left for them to get eliminated. Were they really gonna push for a spot? It was next to impossible. But they only have 4 or 5 games left before they got eliminated. Congratulations to them for doing that. So I only bring that up because it's the opponent. A lot of people will say, like, well, the opponent is not like playoff bound team. I get that. But you can't have it both ways. With how he's been playing recently, which is struggling, doesn't matter who he's playing against. You want him to have a good game no matter what. I thought out of the 2 goals, one very difficult to stop. The other one was a little like, what are you doing here, man? Like he got like turned around, and then he turns around and the puck is literally on his stick, and he just kind of shoves it forward to a Wild player who just kind of puts it in the net. So it was like, okay, you got 1 goal, which is completely forgivable because it's just a tough goal to stop. And the other one is like, what are you doing? Eliminate those 2, and just how he played overall. I think more of what you want to see from Alex Georgiev.
I'm glad you brought him up because it hit me on that goal that you were talking about. I figured out Alexander Georgiev. He is a Sour Patch Kid. First he's sour, then he's sweet. It's usually that 1 shot, 1 goal. There's your sour, and then it cleans up. It was a better game. 22 shots for Minnesota, 2 for 5 on the power play. I mean, not the most strenuous test, but the second looked better. Third, I liked it. I liked the third. So this was a passing C+ grade, like almost like a B-. Like, okay, that's
good.
Much better than what we did our last Georgiev grade and look. But we'll see where it goes from here.
Man, you only allow 2 goals. This team will take you far.
Yes,
you know what
exactly.
I mean. So you got to get rid of the Forgiev, nickname that he's got. You got to get that down to 2 Giev, and you'll be okay. Like this team will carry you. They will. Man, you can't tell me that you don't have confidence in this team to score more than 2 goals over the course of a playoff. So if he can do that, which is easier said than done in this league, but you'd be happy.
And that I was to compliment Georgiev's performance. The defense did look a little bit better too. So we talked about this in the last episode. They complement each other and they play off each other with that confidence. You could see that. And Cale Makar had a goal.
Yeah, it was a sweet goal at that too. I mean, they clamped down. First period, you gave up 12 shots on goal. Second and third, 5 each. So, they only had 22 shots on goal. And then we keep going back to those days of the Avs where they would just hold teams under 20 shots on goal. It's close. Anybody would struggle if you allow 45 shots on goal.
Yeah.
To keep it to 2 goals. But this is manageable. This was a manageable game. 22 shots on goal, only give up 2, you score 5. That's the recipe for success for the Avs. Over on subtext, we have Heather. She said, see, Georgiev is throwing that basket around and stopping these shots. He needs to be active, just like Cujo did.
Ooh.
Does best under pressure. There are guys that rise to the occasion when it come playoff time and things like that. So last year was Georgiev's first time to do that. Didn't happen, but let's hope that was a big learning experience for him. So we'll see if he rise to the occasion this year.
Love the Cujo pull. That's one of my favorite goalies growing up. I love it.
Let's see. I think there was Madam Battleaxe said where is she here? Okay. ESPN said the first period was entertaining. Well, that's a word, not the word that I would have used. But she would have used the word after the two goals given up. I'm not saying they heard my earlier comment, but they obviously are resetting their mindset and looking to the postseason. That was Avs hockey. And Bednar better not cut his hair. That's our lucky hair.
That is my favorite Bednar look is when he's got the wings going.
I was gonna say, what do you call? Is that wings?
Yeah, he's got the wings going. That's
wonderful.
And honestly, and like to the Georgiev like warriors out there, me included, to Madam Battleaxe's point, that first period, Georgie had 2 periods of shutout hockey. So he's carrying 2 periods of shutout hockey into this next start. So that is something you can rest on and look forward to next time you see number 40 hit the ice.
Yeah. So all in all, solid game. Just a solid game, more of what you'd like to see out of the Avs. So we got a few more games to go. See if they can continue that. That's what, your lasting impression. You want it to be this game, rolled out into the last few games of the regular season. And then I think the fan base will kind of feel a little bit better about how this team is going into the playoffs, because how you end the regular season, a lot of people just feel like that's what kind of rolls over into the playoffs. Not always true, but if you can get that for the next 4 games, I think people will be happy.
Yeah, and with the quality of opponents coming up, if you can equal this kind of momentum performance top to bottom, you're going to feel good no matter who you get coming into the playoffs.
Yeah. Yep.
This is what you need.
Yep. All right. One last thing we're going to get to today. That is the NHLPA Players Poll. They do this every year, and they ask questions on specific things involving NHL players. So let's get into that. We'll do that next. First, let's hear from Indeed. And when you're drafting your fantasy team, do you ever wish you could handpick the best stars for your business team? If you're building your talent roster, then you need Indeed. Indeed is the hiring platform where you can attract, interview, and hire all in one place. And don't spend hours on multiple job sites looking for candidates with the right skills when you can do it all with Indeed. Find top talent fast with Indeed's suite of powerful hiring tools like matching, assessments, and virtual interviews. Hate waiting, and Indeed's US data shows over 80% of Indeed employers find quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match their job descriptions the moment they sponsor a job. So Indeed knows when you're growing your own business, you have to make every dollar count. That's why with Indeed, you only pay for quality applications that match your must-have job requirements. And now with Indeed, you only pay for quality applications that meet your hiring criteria. So go to Indeed.com/lockedon to start hiring right now. That's Indeed.com/lockedon. Terms and conditions apply. Cost per application pricing not available for everyone. If you need to hire, then you need Indeed. All right, the NHL Players Poll. This is up on the NHLPA website. Kind of an interesting, fun little thing that they do. NHLPA Players Poll has returned with the 2023-2024 edition. During the regular season, 639 NHL players were surveyed on 15 hockey-related questions. Players weighed in on a variety of topics, including top positional players, most complete player, best playmaker, best style, toughest arena to play in, and more. A lot of Avalanche players involved in this thing, so I figured why not dive in and kind of go through these. It's interesting to see what other players around the league think of other players around the league, including Avalanche players.
Yeah, almost like a peer review.
Yeah. I think that's a good way to look at it. So, do we want to do every one of these or just the ones that include the Avs?
Yeah, let's go with the straight Avs because I found their placement as well rather interesting.
Yeah, because they do one like if you need to win one game, who is the goalie you would want on your team? Georgiev's not in here. So
what?
I guess that's obviously Vasilevsky, which I will just say this. It always amazes me why Connor Hellebuyck is not brought to the top more. That dude is so good. And he just he's always that guy that just does not get enough notoriety when it comes to goalies. It's always Vasilevsky and it's always Shesterkin and then it's everybody else. Where me, it's I'll put my money on Hellebuyck any day of the week with those guys.
I'll put him at number 1 all the time. Like he's sitting 4th in that list. Come on.
Crazy. So we'll move on from that. If you need to win one game, who is the forward you would want on your team? Connor McDavid at 48%, number 1. Sidney Crosby at 11%. Nathan MacKinnon is on there at 6.5%, with Kucherov at 5%, and then Artemi Panarin at 2.5%. So Nathan MacKinnon comes in third on this at just over 6%. Thought it'd be a little bit higher, maybe.
Yeah, especially because the question is posed: who do you want to win one game? Connor McDavid doesn't have a cup. Yes, he
You
has
know
all the
what?
skill in the world. He can muscle you to that, but Nathan MacKinnon has proven it.
Easton on Subtext said that very thing. So
Really?
it's crazy how the forward you want to win a game doesn't have any rings. It's a good point. Good point. If you need to win one game, who is your defenseman you want on your team? 56%, Cale Makar. 10.5% Victor Hedman, 4.5% Roman Yossi, 4% Quinn Hughes, and 2% Adam Fox. So while Quinn Hughes is having a very good season, if people want to go to the well to pick one defenseman, more than half of the league is picking Cale Makar right now.
What you need to do is just understand Cale Makar is the Connor McDavid of defense.
I think, yeah. I mean, it just shows you. And I know a lot of people want to say, like, oh, he's having a down year. He's not having a down year. He's having a great year. And I think he's beat his total. No, has he beaten his total from previous years?
Yes, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah.
If
So,
not
like,
tied it. Yeah.
man, just goes to show you what people think of him. So, who is the best stick handler? 35.5% is Connor McDavid. 20% Patrick Kane. 8% Jack Hughes. 7.8% Nikita Kucherov. Just under 4% Nathan MacKinnon. And the same percentage for Artemi Panarin. I mean, McDavid's a great puck handler. Patrick Kane is obviously a great puck handler. I don't know. I don't have a argument with any of this. I thought maybe it'd be a little bit more closer together. And Artemi Panarin, I think, is one of the best passers in the league too. So not surprising that he's on there.
I honestly am shocked Nathan MacKinnon is on this list.
Because he does kind of like
He is
club pucks every once in a while. Yeah.
He chokes on a lot of pucks. I
It's
don't understand why peers
why he's
do not
only
see this.
Yeah. They see the end result when it goes well.
Yeah.
Like the hat trick that he had. They see that, and that overrides the flub every once in a while. So
Yeah, they're not watching all 60 minutes of all 82 games of the Avalanche.
yeah.
I get it.
Most complete player, 38% Sidney Crosby, 14% Alexander Barkov, 8% Anze Kopitar, 7.8% Connor McDavid, and 6.6% Nathan MacKinnon. I don't like. Complete player is offense and defense.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think Connor McDavid really does a whole lot on defense. He's okay. But, when you're talking complete player, you're talking about, those forwards that play great defense. And I don't think he plays great defense. I think that's his one downfall.
Yeah, I completely, Sidney Crosby plays defense because he had to adapt his game, and he's one of the best players to ever play the game. And for Sidney Crosby to being number one, I get it. Barkov shouldn't even be on here. McDavid should be lower. And I would put like Kopitar, I wouldn't mind him at 2, and Nathan MacKinnon at 3.
Yeah. You don't like Barkov, really?
No.
Wow. He's an underrated player, though. He's very much an underrated player.
But not complete.
Okay. Which player do you least enjoy playing against but would like to have on your team? 29% Brad Marchand, 17% Connor McDavid, 7% Matthew Tkachuk, 6% Tom Wilson, 5% Nathan MacKinnon. And when I first read that, I'm like, the player that you would least enjoy playing against but like on your team, I'm thinking the Brad Marchands of the world, the guys that get under your skin. But then when you see McDavid on there and MacKinnon on there, you're like, oh yeah, it could be the guys that are really good that make life miserable for you as well, not just the goons of the league.
Yeah, and it's always going to be crazy. I'm going to put this up as a poster to have Matthew Tkachuk and Tom Wilson over Nathan MacKinnon in something.
Yeah, that's not going to happen very often. Who is the best breakout passer in the game? 26.5% Cale Makar. 10% Quinn Hughes, 10% Adam Fox, 9% basically Victor Hedman, and 8% Erik Karlsson. So once again, people giving some love to Cale Makar.
Yeah, sure. I guess they had to fill in an answer, but boy, zone transitions have been great.
No, but I think this is like, those 2-line passes that just go through. Like he is pretty solid at
he
those.
can air it out.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's see. We'll get through those because those aren't any. Here's one. I'm just going to read you the question, and then we're going to laugh and move on. If you need to win a face-off, who would you pick?
Ryan Johansson.
Let's see. That's best style. This one was. Hey, it's on there. Which arena is the toughest to play as a visiting team? T-Mobile is number one, where Vegas plays at 31%. PNC, where the Hurricanes play at 16%. TD Garden for the Bruins at 15, basically 16%. Ball Arena, 7.8%. And you've heard it before. I remember they played the Maple Leafs. I think it was last year, and Sheldon Keefe was like, "This was the loudest arena I think I've ever played in." So good for you, Ball Arena. Take a little bow there because I don't feel like they get enough credit when it comes to like the home fan base going crazy.
Ball Arena's where champions play. That's why.
As far as the NHL's best ice, they're not on there though. The Bell Center, I've heard that, but the Bell Center where Montreal plays for some reason is has the best ice.
They got to be good at something. They've been around forever.
And the last one, which global destination would you most like to see host an NHL game? Just under 12% is Italy. 9.5% Sweden, 8.7% England, 8.3% Switzerland, 6.6% France. Italy. A little bit surprised there, no?
I don't get it, but sure, why not?
Yeah.
I think it's honestly a good excuse for an in-season vacation to Italy. I think that's why all the players voted for that.
Well, I mean, you got England on here at 8.7%. I remember Nathan MacKinnon he was on the 32 Thoughts podcast. They interviewed him. That he picked England. He said they have a following in England that not a lot of people really like kind of notice, but they're really big into hockey, and he thinks that that would be a really good place to play. So
I would vote Australia because they have a thriving like hockey scene, and this would be the move for the NHL to make them feel validated in growing that hockey community in Australia. I think it would be perfect.
And I think they got a little feeler out there. If you remember this preseason, they played a couple games there. I think it was the Kings in Arizona, I think, did play a couple of games for preseason there. So, and from what I understand, it went well. So, yeah, not a bad one. Over on Subtext, Madam Battle Axe. Would have loved to see. Oh, she couldn't get into it. I don't know. She couldn't see the link. So sorry about that, Madam. I don't know why she couldn't get into it. Amy says a few thoughts. Not at all surprised to see at the top of these style rankings. I didn't go over the style rank. They ranked people who had the best style. Also, not surprised to see MPP at the top of the PWHL players. That's another one that they had on there. Was the women's players. Makar seems to get the respect he deserves based on several questions, but I feel like McKinnon isn't getting his due still. And I wonder next year, if McKinnon does win this MVP, then you've added that to all his career accolades so far. Is that when it starts to maybe when the tone shifts a little bit and he kind of closes the gap on Connor McDavid having a hold on all of questions like these?
I think it goes a step further. I think if he gets that Hart Trophy this year, Nathan MacKinnon becomes the bad guy. When everybody hated Sidney Crosby, that's what everybody's about to do to Nathan MacKinnon.
Could be. It'd be interesting to see how that goes, because there does become a point when you become like so good and you're winning awards and you win the Stanley Cups, people start to hate you.
That's where we're about to
go. We'll see. And she does say, glad to see Ball Arena listed as tough for visiting teams. Absolutely. And then, Easton was the only other one with the great comment about the forwards and not having any rings. So interesting stuff all around. So, I was not
in the style anywhere in there. Best style in the league.
No, No, you got 100% of the vote, and they were like, okay, well, we're going to put that aside.
That's
You
right.
can't vote for Shaggy Von Doom on this one.
That's right.
So that's why it's you're not on there. But everybody knows. Everybody knows. So
Next
all
year.
right. We're going to wrap it up, and that'll do it for today's episode. Thank you so much for tuning in, making it your first listen of the day. Always appreciate it. We got a couple days before the next Avalanche game. Why? We don't really know. So we will never be able to figure out NHL scheduling. So, yeah, that's it.
I don't know who makes the schedules. I can't wait. We're going to interview them one day.
No, yeah, they're a mystery. It's just AI bots is all it is. So thank you for tuning in, making your first listen of the day. Always appreciated. He is Mr. Shaggy Von Doom, Kyle Sullivan. I am Chris Maselli. This is the Locked On Avalanche podcast. We'll see you guys tomorrow.